Before we start our episode today, I would like to put a call out to the voodoo priestess or priest who's involved in the energetic interference that's being sent to myself and Laura. Can we please have a conversation to give you our side of the story? We aren't the bad guys that you've been told. You've been tricked and used by a manipulative person to use your powerful skills on innocent people. So if you'd like to have a chat, I'm here to have an open conversation with you. My email address is in the description box. And also too, I have a disclaimer for today's episode. This episode is about sharing signs and symptoms of what I call magic interference that's in our environment that I've experienced, but have also witnessed in many of my friends and my clients. Now, the contents of this episode today are not an attack or in any way degrading or minimalising magic practices. I just wanted to put that out there before we get started. So welcome to episode 100. Yes, we made it to episode 100 on Perfectly Paranormal. And this is a very special episode. It's going to give you real insight into what it's like living with magic interference to the max. Sorcery and magic bubbles away under the surface in our society, and it's more prevalent than I would have ever thought. So in this episode, you're going to hear from Louie, who's going to share his nighttime symptoms of something not quite right that turned out to be portals, entities, and magic attacks from a psychopathic ex-girlfriend who took revenge to the next level. You're also going to hear from Laura. Laura's back. Laura was here back in episode 14 of this podcast, where she shared her terrifying experiences living with constant magic attack on her and her children, aged 3 and 5 years old at the time. And 3 years on, Laura is still alive and surviving magic attack, maximising her newfound confidence and bravery, protecting her kids to the max. And she's going to tell you about her car's sudden strange activity, her brother David's near-death experience that is not what you think, and his darling little 1-year-old son whose temperature of 41.5 baffled the doctors at the local hospital, and it turned out to have a very nefarious cause. So let's get into it. And today, as you already know, we are diving straight into the signs and symptoms of magic interference, summoned entities, and interdimensional doorways. And here's Louie's interview. Today we're speaking with Louie, a friend and a client of mine, who messaged me with some rather unusual symptoms and strange goings-on in his house, and he needed me to take a look. Now, Louie is aware of paranormal presence in our environment, but what he was experiencing, was something very different. Welcome, Louie. It's great to have you here with us again.
Thanks, Anna. It's great to be back.
Oh, we've got some questions lined up today. I thought the listeners might like to hear what it's like living with magic. Other than me explaining my perception all the time, I thought they might like to hear what some of my clients, some of my friends, some of the people that I know, what it's like for them, what sort of symptoms they've experienced and so on. So let's dive into it. And I wanted to ask Louie, can you please share with the listeners some of the nighttime symptoms that you were experiencing that were disrupting your sleep and how long that had been going on for?
Well, as you know, I've had quite a few encounters with spirits and entities, etc., over time, but this was a bit of a different ballpark altogether. At night, just before I was starting to go to sleep, I'd start getting electric shocks. And at first, I didn't have a clue. I thought my body was just doing some weird things. But then I was getting other weird stuff that was going on, like my body started heating up. My heart rate started to increase, and I'd become more alert and awake just before I was about to nod off, and all of those together just wasn't too pleasant.
No, and I can actually back that up for you because I've had pretty much exactly the same symptoms. I don't have a heart issue. Do you have a heart issue that you know of that's been diagnosed?
No.
No, I don't either. I've had mine fully checked out and there is no heart issues. But when my heart started palpitating really strangely, like super fast and only for about maybe 10 to 15 seconds, I'm like, what on earth is causing that? And then I would get the heat. And then I would occasionally get the electric shocks. But I would feel the entities moving around me on my bed because I'm sort of super sensitive to the feeling. It's like feeling something creepy between you and the bed, like something's crawling around on the bed. It's really like something out of a horror movie. People's minds are probably spinning right now. But this is all totally real and totally relevant. This is why we're here today talking about living with magic interference. So you had trouble at night time with getting to sleep, the heart palpitations. How was the magic interference affecting your life in other ways?
Really just making myself and my wife more nervous to be in the house and to go to sleep because it wasn't something that we look forward to anymore. Like most people at the end of a long day look forward to snuggling up into bed, drifting off, but we didn't have that luxury. It wasn't pleasant.
No, and when you contacted me, I went, I got an idea what this is. Because I've had issues with some rather interesting people opening portals around my bed, become very good at understanding, really from no knowledge at all, really getting a bit of a handle on how this magic and sorcery practice works. So the things that you were describing is when you left the house, there was no issues when you left the house, was there?
No, no, not at all.
No. So that tells you it's something in your house. So we got some dowsing going between you and myself when we were talking on a phone call one day. And you walked around the house and you identified that there were some portals. Do you remember where they were?
Mainly underneath the mattress. Yeah, one in the living room too.
Yes. So when they open the portals, they then have access into the house. Now, your partner, she was struggling. Can you describe some of her symptoms for the listeners? Because she's super sensitive. She does energy work and she's very, very sensitive to the environment. So could you explain to the listeners some of the struggles that she was experiencing?
Yeah, so her struggles were a little bit different to mine. She became very depressed. The more activity, the more depressed she was. And while in the house, her energy levels went right down and she became very anxious. I had some of those symptoms, but nowhere near as severe as my partner. So it was interesting to see the difference between both of us.
So pets are very sensitive to paranormal presence. We know this from, well, I know this from other people's pets in their homes have been key signs for noticing when there's paranormal beings around. How did you notice the changes in your dog's behaviour?
We came home one day, both my partner and our dog was at the front door making a crying sound, which he doesn't do. And we came in and he was shivering and crying, then went and jumped straight back in his bed, curled up in a ball. And we knew straight away then something's not right here. This isn't normal behaviour for our dog.
And I remember you telling me too that your partner took the dog for a walk and had a lovely time when they were out of the house. Soon as they came back, the symptoms occurred again. And another time, when you came home from walking the dog, you said as soon as you got in the house, the dog's behaviour changed.
Yeah, he could sense stuff that we couldn't. It wasn't nice at all seeing that, and it's happened a few times recently. Not so. That's a good thing.
But yeah, dogs are a key sign, and cats as well are a key sign because they're pets that are in our homes all the time. And if their behaviour changes, that can be a sign of spirits or dark or demonic level beings, but also to the summoned entities. And the dogs and the cats are seeing the movement of the entities moving around the home. So if you've got entities in your home, that usually says to me you've got portals open somewhere. So we've got a pretty good practice now of understanding if there's entities, there's portals. If there's portals, they're going to be sorcery and magic as well. So we've got a really good understanding from a very basic level of how the magic attack or the magic interference works when people are sending out magic in homes. Now, Louie's not the only person that I've helped with magical issues in their homes. I'm finding now that about every third or fourth house clearing job that I do, there is some level of magical interference. There's a level of people sending out harmful energy to hurt others. And it's so underhanded and so sneaky, it's just beyond I have no words for it. It's beyond my understanding of how people can treat each other this way. So, Louie, when we were talking on the phone one day, you questioned about moving house to get away from the magic. And we discussed how it wouldn't help as the magic interference was attached to you.
Yeah, I was a little bit bummed to find out moving wouldn't help, because initially in my head I thought, oh, well, we're just going to get up and change house and it'll all be dandy. It's not quite that simple.
Yeah, that's right. But we have found, now I'm not going to share our processes today. We have found some processes that work with closing the portals, removing the entities and removing the magic. So it is making people's lives much more manageable. So have you found, since we've started initiating these processes that we've been doing, that your sleep has improved, that maybe your dog's behaviour has improved? How have you found the changes?
They've been massive. I'm getting no electric shocks just before I go to sleep. I'm not getting the heat and racing heart rate. I can have a full night's sleep without feeling or sensing anything. So it's made a huge difference.
That is really, really good. So we've got another, this is still connected to magic, but we've got something slightly different that a member of your family found in your house. So would you like to share with us about that particular toy that had an issue attached to it?
Yeah, well, this was just, I thought, a nice little gesture for my partner when she wasn't having a good day. And we put it up above the bed. It had two little magnetic hands and just sit up there. And my partner liked it because it looked cute, and thought nothing of it until a family member walked into the room and looked up and straight away said, I don't get a good vibe from that toy. That shouldn't be there. I'd never had that thought, and my partner didn't either, so it was interesting.
You sent me a photo of this particular soft plushy type toy. And when I looked at it, I was drawn to looking at the head. And I find that when I look at floor plans or I look at items, there'll be a particular part of the item where my spidey senses will go, oh, no, there's something not good attached to that toy. Now, I don't have the notes here with me today about what I found in that toy, but I know it had some demonic level entities attached to it. And they would have been attached to the emotional imprints that were attached to the toy when the material was made, when the people were handling it, when they were sewing it, when they were stuffing it, whatever the stuffing is, and then it's packaged and sold in the shop. So lots of people handle these objects. And sometimes if the people aren't in a good frame of mind, or they've got other intentions, which we're going to talk about, these objects can end up in people's homes, and then the energy changes and you don't know what it is. Because I've looked in your home before. I've done house clearings for you before. I think it was about 10 months ago. I think it was February this year. And I didn't pick up on that particular toy having an issue because the magic that was attached to that toy was cloaked. And when we had this other magic issue happening in your home, I went, I wonder if somehow there's a couple of different types of magical interference type issues going on with this toy, the head of this toy. There was something, I don't know that there was an item or an object that had been put into the head. I think it was the actual stuffing that was used. So it was some sort of intention that the person was putting on the stuffing, whatever they were thinking about. Maybe they hated their job, or they were going through a struggle at home, or their life was just not in a good place. And as they're putting the stuffing in this toy, they're imprinting their energy onto it. So then you buy it with a wonderful gesture for your partner and you hang it above your bed. And then I think that was the first instance is that you weren't being able to sleep. And we went, okay, so it's the toy. The toy was actually burned. You were much happier just to totally get rid of it and get it out of the house altogether. So the toy was burned, removed that energy from the home, and that minimalised probably about 40% of the magical issues. And then we had to get in and unpack the portals. Now, there'd been a lady in your lounge room. We're not going to mention what she was there for, but she sat in your lounge room and she had some crystals around her and she was doing a bit of chanting and a bit of meditation. Now, sometimes these practices that people do, and I'm not judging people, I'm just putting it out there. Sometimes when people do these practices and they're saying prayers or they're saying spells to open doorways to clear energy that's in homes, they don't close the doors afterwards. Or they think they've closed them, but they haven't closed them. So then that leaves this interdimensional doorway open that these energy beings can come and go. So there was a level of that in your lounge room, which was connected to another lady, but there was also a portal in your lounge room from the magic people who'd been sending energy. It's all very complex and all very fascinating, but I've had fun learning how to unpack it all. It really has been. The universe sent this to me to learn how to manage. I call it magical management. So once I've learned how to manage this magic, now the universe is sending me clients with issues of magic personally or in their homes, things that their pets are noticing. They can't sleep, they're getting these electric zaps, there's energy beings moving around the house. It really has been a totally fascinating process. Thank you so much for coming on Perfectly Paranormal today to share what it's like living with magic. It's been wonderful having you here again.
Thank you very much, Anna. It's always a pleasure.
And now let's get into our interview with Laura. Hello, Laura. It's lovely to see you again.
Hello, Anna. Long time no see.
We talk like nearly every second day. So funny. With all this magic that we've been having to deal with, we've just been on the phone constantly with this. Now, my voice, I still have a slightly croaky voice for the listeners, just to understand that we've put off this interview as long as possible. And episode 100 comes out in about 3 days. I just have to deal with it. It's just some virus that's going around. So we're just going to go with it. So Laura, oh my gosh, back in, was it episode 11 or episode 14 about our magic journey that we've been on?
Yeah, I think it was episode 14. Yeah, oh God, what's happened since then? Bloody everything.
Oh my God.
One hell of a ride.
It's been a real roller coaster ride because neither Laura or myself know anything about sorcery or magic or incantations or spells or any of that. But we've been on the receiving end for around about the last 3 years. So it's been rather interesting. I like to think that everything has a silver lining, and that includes this journey that we've been on.
Yep, we've learnt so much. It's been we could write a book about it. That's how much we've had to bloody deal with.
So today I thought that we could share some of the signs and symptoms that we've experienced to help other people understand if they've got an issue and they've been to the doctor and they've been to their mental health professional and it's not a medical issue, it's not a mental health issue. It might be an energetic issue that is causing whatever it is the problem that they've got.
Yep. Yep, and we've got lots of stories to back all that up.
Oh, haven't we ever? Haven't we ever? So, would you like to share some of the signs and symptoms that you've experienced, and then I'll jump in with some of mine?
So my experiences, I get my signs and symptoms, and I've got signs and symptoms from my kids. That everyone's different in our family. So I'll describe mine first. Mine comes through my dreams. So I know that they're working on me. They must be connected into my energy field or tapping into my energy field. And then we check, and sure enough, they're there. So I've had dreams. They're kind of like, as time's gone on, and I've learned a lot about myself, they're kind of like little premonitions almost. So one of my dreams, leading up to the dreams, my daughter Grace kept running out onto the road, and she was uncontrollably, like, I had to hold her hand, and she'd twist her hand out. And she's only, how old is she now? She's only 4. And she was twisting out of my hand and on the street and running out onto the road. And I had to tell the daycare, I said, Grace is running out onto the road. You have to hold her hand, like, even though they do anyway. But I said, you just have to be really vigilant because she's got this obsession with running on the road. Anyway, after a few days or maybe a week, I can't remember, I had this dream, and she was running out onto the road, but I couldn't move. I was stuck, and I was just like running in slow motion like you do in your dreams. I couldn't stop her from running onto the road, and I was screaming like, come back, Grace, come back. But she just kept on going and going and going. And then I'm like, it's magic. It's got to be the magic, whatever they're doing. So sure enough, called Anna. We talk most days. I said, oh, Grace has, been doing this, and I've had this dream. Anna checks in. Yep, connected to whatever the magical, these people. This was before the protection. So now we've got protection. They're on the outside of our energy field. So it's kind of not as severe as it used to be. Another magic experience I had was there was a little girl. It wasn't actually a dream, it was real life. I woke up in the middle of the night, and there was a little girl looking in the mirror. There's a mirror next to the bed on the wardrobe. And I looked over and, there's a little girl there. And I knew it was like a spirity kind of ghosty girl. And then all of a sudden it morphed into this tribal kind of creatures, feathers, earthy kind of, I can't describe it, but it was like, it was morphing into something. Then it came right in front of my face, and it was this woman, and it was like this evil looking woman with red, fiery, red and black. It was quite scary. And when I checked in the morning, yep, I was connected to all these magic people. So yeah, it's constantly clearing, constantly. I don't know why it happens to me overnight. So I've been pulled out of my body. Like, I've been lying in bed, and it's like my body's lying down, but your energy or your spirit or whatever you want to call it's being pulled out. And then I see the woman, the woman who's kind of started all of this, and her face is just, I can see her, I'm wide awake, and I just shout out. My husband probably thinks I'm mad. I shout out, swearing, F off. And then I just lay back down into my body and go back to sleep, because I'm like, they can't hurt me. So what else? I've got lots of things. Oh, the heat. You get the heat, Anna. I woke up one night, I was dreaming about a fire, and I woke up and I screamed, not from fear or anything. I was just like, oh, there's a fire next to my bed. I could feel the heat. Like, and that was another time
Yep.
that they were tapping in all the time. Yeah, and I often dream about this person who's, is the kind of the ringleader of the magic attacks, and it's like, trying to reel me back in, and it's like, no, not going to happen type thing. So that's mine. Mine comes through dreams, and I'll feel wonky. Like, I'll know when they're connected. I'll feel wonky. I'll feel tired. I'll feel muddle headed. Yeah, just, and driving. Like, you'll see a car just come out of nowhere, and you're like, I didn't see that. Like, I'm looking. I'm not on anything. I'm not on any drugs or anything, and I didn't see that before. So it just, yeah, that's what happens for me.
Well,
the kids.
it messes with your perception. So I was going to bring up about your driving, because you've rang me a few times and gone, "Oh my God, I've nearly had a car accident. What is going on?" So they're tapping into your consciousness, into your mind, your brain, all these different areas, and they're actually affecting the functionality of your thinking. So it makes you less aware of the reality that you're in. So when you're driving, what I've found now is that I am super alert when I drive. I mean, you're always alert. You're always looking out for other cars, for pedestrians, motorcycles, the changing of the traffic lights and so forth. But sometimes if I go out and I'm like, there's something around me, I've done my clearing, I might have missed something, which is usually what happens. They're trying a new tactic or a new process to get close to me, is that when I'm driving, is that I'm super, super alert. Do you want to tell us about, you told me about an experience you had in the car where your daughter, who's only young, sits in a child seat, so she's in the back seat, and she said something to you about, mummy, be aware, or stop, or
Oh,
there's a car
yes.
coming.
Yeah, mummy, you're going to crash. That's what she said. And that's when, yeah, we were taking her to a dance class. Mummy, you're going to crash. And that's when this car came out of nowhere. And it was like it wasn't like she didn't see the car. She just told me before this was going to happen, you're going to crash. And I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah. And then I went to pull out, on the main street, which is like a 40-kilometre zone because it's a school zone. And then this car, I didn't see this car. It just came out of nowhere. And I'm like, far out. She just told me like a minute before that I'm going to have a crash. And then this car just came zooming. It nearly, T-boned me. So then I'm like, oh, okay, I have to listen to this kid when she tells me, because she had been telling me that for a while, like when we were driving. No, I'm fine. Mummy's a good driver. But it all led up to this point where I nearly had this crash,
Yep.
so, and then, yeah, sure enough, even though we do our daily checks, but then you've got to dig a bit deeper sometimes, play around with the wording and ask. We're crafty, aren't we, Anna?
Oh my goodness, we've have to learn. I've had to learn to really think outside the box, because Laura and I have been dealing with this sorcery and this magic attack. And we have no idea what they're using, how they're doing it. And I have probably written, over the last 3 years, I've probably written around 1,000 statements or prayers. They're not spells, but they're more just a call out to the archangels, especially Archangel Michael, because the angelic realm will help you. They won't do anything for you unless you ask. So I've been crafting all of these statements, and I reckon out of 1,000, probably about 10 that has helped me put together all these different layers and levels of protection. It's been a real learning curve for me. And for your daughter, I felt like when you told me about that experience a few months ago, is that the spirit guides or the angelic realm were speaking through her to get you to kind of be aware when you're driving that this, what I call magic interference, is that it can interfere with your thinking. And they were coming through her to give you that information. This is where I find that driving, I have to be extra super duper aware now when I'm driving. Because even though you and I and your kids and your husband and all your family, we've all got these 5 layers of protection, there's still a level of being slightly unsettled energetically, and it does affect your mind. It affects the way that your mind functions. Did you have any other signs and symptoms that you wanted to share?
I've got lots for the kids. I've got lots of stories. So, okay, let me just have a look. So I've written it all down, but there's so much has happened. So we'll stay on the subject of Grace. She gets angry. She gets rage. She absorbs these emotions from these people that are connecting to her. And before the protection, like, she was turning into we used to call her a little devil, because and we knew something was attached to her through this courting from these people. She'd had this entity with her, and she used to say, "Don't look at me." I think you've used it as an example in another podcast, but that was connected to these magic attacks. So, don't look at me. Don't look at me. And then, oh, mummy, I want a hug, I want a hug. And then I'd go and hug her. And then as soon as I'd go and hug her, she'd go, don't touch me, don't touch me. And it was this really gruff, deep voice. And I was like, oh my God, she's got something. And sure enough, Anna tuned in and she did. She had something attached to her, but it had come from the courting from these people. So that whenever they court into you or tune into you or whatever they do, their juju on you, you get all their crap, their emotions, what they're feeling, their anger, their rage, their hatred, or whatever they're feeling. So she gets the anger. But my little boy, he's not so little anymore, but I suppose he was when all of this started. He was 5 years old when all of this started. That was 3 years ago. He's 8 now. I think it was the beginning of this year. His signs and symptoms were physical. He had the heart palpitations, the anxiety, the dizziness, and I didn't put it down to magic or energy or anything straight away. We went to the doctors. I remember spending hours up at the emergency department because he said his heart's going boom. Like he just said, it's going boom, mum. It's just, and I'm like, oh God, he's having, a heart attack or something, because he has had not heart issues, but like a murmur in the past, which is normal, we've found out, and he'll grow out of it. So that's all been checked. I thought, oh no, we're going to have to go through all the checking again. So we take him up to the emergency. He's had all the scans, the ECGs, the echoes, go to the heart specialist. No, there's nothing there, but he's still feeling it. So, okay, so it's not that. It's not anything physical. I'm going to take him to a child psychologist. So go to the doctor, get the referral, because I'm thinking it must be anxiety then. If it's not physical, and it's to do with your heart, it's got to be anxiety and feeling dizzy. So take him to the psychologist and talk about all these things. Now, I should have said earlier, he was also saying, which was another reason why he, whipped him straight off to the psychologist. He was saying, I feel like I have to, and this is maybe a trigger for some people, so just a warning, but I had my little 8-year-old, he was 7 at the time, Mummy, I feel like I have to kill myself, but I don't know why. He'd say that. And he'd get really upset about it. And, why do you feel like that, mate? I don't know why, Mummy. He's got a good life. He's got everything he needs. He's got family. We've got friends. There's nothing. He's normally really happy. So, yeah, we went to the psychologist and he had a few sessions with her, or probably 6 months worth of sessions with her. And in the end, she said, there's nothing wrong. Like he's fine. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with him. Like, come back. He got discharged. Like, there's no need for me to be seeing him anymore, but come back if everything comes back again. And in the background, like when we were doing this, when I was seeing the psychologist with him, that's when we discovered Anna discovered all of the protections. And that's when it was all activated, and that's when it all stopped. And that's when the psychologist said, he's free to go, he's fine. So, yes, we ruled out the physical, so getting all the heart scans and seeing the paediatrician, seeing the cardiologist, getting all that ticked off, none of that, psychologist, none of that. But while we're doing this, we're also, aware that there's magic and sorcery attached to this. So I'm dealing with all the physical things, and Anna's devising up this protection and, put it into place, and he's finally not dizzy anymore, no anxiety, no desire to say those things that he said, I feel like I have to, end my life. Yeah, so he is very physical, whereas my daughter is very emotional. So that's how we know. And Terry's very, like, he's quite, I've discovered through all of this, he's quite psychically open. Like, he'll see spirits, he'll describe them. He's described my dad before, and he's never met him. So, I saw Poppy last night, and he was wearing this, and this, and doing this, and this. And, oh, yep, he saw a little dog down in one of the pickers' huts. He said, oh, I see a little dog there. Well, that used to be a sheep shearing hut, didn't it? So, and I said, what kind of dog is it, mate? Oh, it's a Kelpie dog. Well, that's where the sheep shearer used to live. So, of course, he would have had a Kelpie dog. So, he's very psychically open, and I think that's why he can feel it, the attacks more. Like, they're harder on his body. They're physical. So, I mean, there's other stories. Do you want me to keep going with the stories?
There's so much. There's so much
Yeah.
that we have been through. Like you said, we could write a book on this. It would just be, would blow people's minds as how the power of suggestion that someone could send to an 8-year-old or a 7-year-old child could send to them to want them to kill themselves. I mean, why? Why would someone do that to a child, let alone an adult? Why? I
Yeah.
just can't fathom the level of nastiness and spite, and it just, oh, I have no words. It's not very often I'm without words. But yeah, that was the
Yeah.
power of suggestion, which also came
Yeah.
up with your brother.
Yes. Well, the story gets worse. The stories are getting worse. They're getting
Mm,
lower and lower.
mm.
So I'll tell the stories. There's a lot of stories, but I think people need to know because these things happen, and if you're not aware, well, Terry could have followed through, with the suggestion. So my brother, and I think these people are trying to get to me by getting to my kids, my family. This person knew my whole family. I don't know. That's their revenge. I don't know. So my brother, so this is his story. So he was lying in bed one night. Could have been 3 o'clock in the morning, could have been midnight. He saw, and he told me this. He was awake, and he saw in his mind's eye, as plain as day, the image. And this is another trigger warning. Like everything I'm saying from now on is probably a trigger warning to just be aware. And the image of a noose being tied. So he said, I saw the rope, I saw the 7 knots, and he said, and that was followed by an overwhelming feeling to find a place in his house to end his life. He was thinking, where can I do it? And that shook him up because he said to me, he said, I've got a good life. He's starting a little family. He's got a little baby and a beautiful partner. He's got a good job. He's got good friends. There's nothing. He's outgoing. He's a really top bloke. And he said to me, there's nothing in my life that is bad. So why would I be thinking about ending my life?
Yep.
And yeah, so he called me and he relayed this message to me. He also said, I've always wondered how they get to that point where you're like, right, I'm going to do it now. Like where you have the plan and you just, yep, where am I going to do it? Where you get to that, I've got to find somewhere. He said, I know now how they feel because that's how I felt. And I knew it was something. He said he knows about all this magic. And he said, I knew it was something to do with that. So he called me. And that's when I called Anna because I'm like, this is too big for me. I'm just learning about all this stuff. So I think you tuned into him, didn't you, Anna?
I did indeed. And
I think it was
found
you. You've done so
cording.
many trips.
Yeah, and there was magic and there was sorcery and there was incantations. The cording, now when you hear Laura and me talk about cording, it's what we called energy cording or psychic cording. Now we all have cords between us, our friends, our family members, our pets, our workmates, people that you enjoy the company of and you have a positive relationship with. You're going to exchange positivity and love and happiness and friendship and all that through the energy cording that you have between you and your partner, your kids and so forth. When you have toxic people corded to you, and these magic people know how to connect into your energy, your mind, your consciousness, your brain, wherever their first point of call is, they can instill the power of suggestion. If they don't like you, they can say to you, right, I want you to do this. Like with Gracie wanting to run onto the road, that actually became a physical thing. I remember you ringing me and going, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, have you got any like jockey straps or something that you can put around both your gates so that she can't sneak out when you're not sort of with her all the time? You might be in the kitchen, she might be watching a movie or playing with the dolls or, busy doing something. So she can't, under the power of suggestion, sneak out of the house because she's too small to reach the top of your gates. You've got like 6-foot gates.
Yes, I remember that, and they're still there. I haven't taken them down.
No, because this power of suggestion, it makes me wonder how many people have killed themselves under the suggestion of someone else who hates them or that person who wants revenge hasn't employed, say, a sorcery or a magic practitioner who does this for a living, that hasn't employed a person to actually activate this type of thinking within people. It really does blow your brain. Like it sent me for a bit of a spin, and there's not much that makes me go, holy fuck, how am I going to cope? Very rarely do I feel like that. And that's what I was like 3 years ago. I'm like, what am I going to do with all this? I don't know how to defend myself. What am I going to do? But being a Leo and being really defiant against bullies, this made me go, right, I'm going to work with the angelic beings who I already work with for my house clearing, personal clearing work. And I went, right, guys, I call them my big brothers. Please help me define some processes to block the parasuggestion, to block the sorcery, to block the magic from affecting children and affecting adults. Tell us about your brother's son. Tell us about what happened to him, because this will really blow people's minds.
Oh, this is the low. This is the low. This is how low.
This is the lowest of the low.
This is how low they can go. So he's got a 1-year-old. I don't even think he was one at the time. He was probably 11 months old at the time. But he was, close to one. My little nephew, David. Now, he was getting, his temperature was spiking, and it was around 3 o'clock in the morning. And it was, they had to rush him up to the emergency, because 41.5 degrees Celsius, that's seizure material. And Panadol and cool baths, and it wasn't fixing it. He was like a burning baby. I can't describe it, like I felt him as well, like, because this went on for a few days. He was a burning baby, like it was scary. So he went up to the emergency, and this was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I think he went up. I think he got sent back home each time. Nothing wrong with him. No virus, nothing. And again, up to the emergency, got the heat. Same time in the morning. And my brother at this point was like, oh, fuck, what next? And we knew, we were onto it straight away pretty much, because this is a baby. I called Anna and I told her about this, and she's like, no, he had all this crap attached to him.
Yep.
I mean, it's a baby. How low can you go? And this is where we drew the line, and we're like, no, we're not sending you love and light. We're not on a revenge path, but we've got to defend ourselves. So yeah, it's all well and good for these people to say, oh, just send them love and light, send them back. No, because they're intentionally attacking, and they're attacking children, they're attacking babies. They're intentionally courting into people to meddle with their lives. So no, we need to put our armor on, put our shield on, and just, what's the word we always use? And it's self-defense. We're defending ourselves. So this baby, he came right in the end, and that's only because he got the clearings and he got the protection, yep, which was taken Anna 3 years to devise. It's complicated. So yeah, we're so grateful for this protection, because we didn't know anything about magic, or it's not something I've ever done or studied, or so you don't know how they work. So then you've got to go through all the processes and research, and okay, so what are they doing? How can I counteract that? And it's just been a mind boggle. Actually, one of my other nephews was attacked as well, and not so much. This is still. How old's Rocco? He'd be about 6 now. And he's got this death fear. And my sister said to me, he's got this death fear. And he's like, don't say the word death. It really scares me. It really scares me. Well, all kids are scared of, all kids are scared. But this was an unusual kind of obsession with it. And it just came out of nowhere. So she said to me, and I could do this one myself because I've learned so much by then. And I said, right, I'm going to check him. And I checked, and yep, he was connected to the magic and connected. And I asked the question, I said, is it connected to this person? Big yes. Because I'm like, I I know who it's connected to. And
Yep.
my sister's like, yep. She's like, she 100% believes it, because she's like, there's too many things that have happened in the last 3 years. And as soon as we do the clearing and the protection, gone. The death fear is gone. So this little Rocco, he got the protection, and he hasn't mentioned it since, actually. And I do check in, like, we catch up all the time. So that's really good. So yeah, kids, that's where we draw the line. It's like, no, you're messing with the wrong person here.
I mean, people shouldn't be attacking people anyway. We all know that. It is the wrong thing to do. It takes you to a very low vibrational path. But attacking children and attacking babies, it is beyond my comprehension as a human being to think that someone would go so low out of spite and revenge and power-hungry, egotistical behaviours. It is just something that is... Now, the hum... Now, you've also heard the hum. Do you want to share your hum before I share mine?
Yeah, so I thought I was going mad. So overnight, around about 3 in the morning, I'd wake up and I'd hear this. It's like a low kind of flute sound, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. It's not like a flute playing, but like a, but it's just constant. And I'm thinking, where is this noise coming from? Oh, is there something outside? Are there some sort of pipes or something that wind's blowing down, or is it just a particular windy night? And it happened over and over again. And I thought, nah, there's something more to this. And I was saying, I think Anna was talking about the hum, and I said, oh, you know the hum. I said, I've heard the hum. I thought I was going mad. And then you explained your hum, and I was like, and that's when they're most active, when these practitioners doing their work. It's around about 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and that's when we hear the hum. And I'm like, oh, so they're kind of around the property because, it's unexplainable. I thought I was going crazy. No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
Yes.
You're not. And for the last 3 years, I think the more psychically aware you become, the more your skills develop. You actually pick up on subtle changes in our environment. So 3 years ago, when this all started happening, I would hear... Now, Laura hears it as a low flute sort of sound. When I hear it, and I can hear it right now, because I have tinnitus, which I think is just... what I hear is a high vibrational orchestra going on in my head. I think that's my connection to... I don't know, the angelic realm, the God energy, whatever you want to call it. But on top of that, I can hear this very low vibrational hum. Now, to me, it sounds like someone mowing the lawns at a distance. Now, it's become a really handy, next to the heat and the hum. These are two really solid symptoms. If I know in the middle of the night I've got a bit of heat going on. Now, we are heading into summer here in Tasmania, so heat is normal. But I'm talking about I'm in bed and I'm all just not comfortable and I'm drifting off to sleep. And all of a sudden I get this burst of heat, like I've opened the oven type heat. And mine's very localised in the middle of my back. I'm like, right, what is that? I know now what it is. It's the magic sorcery practitioners attempting to tune in to do their juju, as we call it. They can't get in because we've got multiple layers of protection. It's so funny. I feel like an onion sometimes because there was one layer and then another layer and then another layer. And now there's like, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 7 layers, all doing their own thing. But I still slightly feel the heat. The heat and that sort of very low vibrational hum, that tells me they're about. And when I get up to go to the toilet in the morning, I might feel slightly unsteady on my feet, slightly wonky, as we call it. That's when I know they're on the outside of my energy field protection. Can I slip into sharing my symptoms now? Have you got anything else you want to share?
If something pops up, I'm sure it will. Yeah, you go.
Yeah, just jump in.
You go. Yeah, you go.
Okay, so we've talked about the hum. Now the heat, before we had protection up, The heat would be around my physical heart, around my reproductive organs, around my bladder, around my sacral chakra. That seems to be that lower back area of the human body. That seems to be a key point that these magic and sorcery practitioners tune into. Why? I don't know. I'm not a practitioner. I don't know why they do what they do. I've just had to learn to be aware, observe, identify, and defend against it. And Laura and I have both talked about this. We have no emotions towards these people. It's gone on so long. Initially, we were annoyed and angry and maybe a bit rageful. I don't think hate never came into it, but we were annoyed and pissed off with what they were doing. Now, it's just like, oh, they're still at it. You'd think after 3 years, they would just give up, move on, and get a life. Now, people are going to be slightly horrified. Like, you're going to be horrified about what we're sharing. Laura and I are sharing this with you 100% real. This is real. This is what goes on in society under what you see on the surface. Now, I'm not going to get in my soapbox because you all know what I'm like. But I'll give you a giggle. I do a lot of house clearing work, a lot of property energetic clearing work. Homes, properties, houses, people, pets. Now, what I've had is these magic people have become very crafty. And what they do is they'll email me to do a house clearing job for them. What they do is they send magic through their emails. They set up magical booby traps on their properties, in their homes. And then they pretend, when I send them their reports, oh no, that's not me. I haven't done that. I know they have, but I never accuse. It's not about accusation. They know they're doing the wrong thing. There will be karma. There will be karma which will bite these people so fucking hard in the ass they won't know what hit them. But what I'm getting to is that now when I tune into properties that have the magic interference, the booby traps, they're trying to catch me out, to hurt me, harm me, whatever they're trying to do, I start burping. It's more than burping. It is belching, like serious beer belches. Now, I don't drink.
Yep, I've heard them.
You've heard them. I was talking to you on the phone. I rang you up when I was working on this property. And I'm like, what the bugger is going on? And I'm burping and I'm belching. So my body is giving me another sign. It's not just the hum. It's not just the heat. If I start burping or really seriously big on full-on belly belches when I'm working on a property, or I tune into the photo or I look at the address, I'm like, oh, there's going to be some magic attached to this property. So it's become a bit of a game that if people employ me to do work, I will do it for them. I am ethical, I am moral, I am professional. But then I'll send them their reports. And the other little thing that we found is that sometimes these sorcery and magic people will use what I call surrogates. They'll set me up to do an energetic clearing. Just say I've got a lady named Jenny. Jenny will send me an email. Hi, Anna, I've listened to your podcast. I'm really interested in, say, an energy clearing. And I'm like, no worries. I'll send you some information. We can have a phone chat if you want to. And I always tell people the date that I'm going to be doing the work. Well, I found out that was a problem because Jenny was, say, booked in for, the 10th of December. I had no problems that morning on the 10th of December. Got up, did my usual routines, feel good, clear head, feel happy, feel very centered. When I sit down and I open Jenny's email, I look at her photo, I ask permission to connect to Jenny to do her energy clearing. I start to feel sick. My brain is spinning, my mind is spinning. I'm feeling wobbly, can't stand up properly. And I'm like, oh, you bastards. You've used Jenny as a surrogate to get to me, to send me some sort of magic juju to hurt me, harm me, kill me. Now, whether Jenny is maybe part of this, maybe she's a magic practitioner, maybe not. I found 2 cases where they will use magic practitioners or their properties, or they'll use a surrogate person who's just, say, a friend. And this friend will go, oh yeah, Anna's going to tune in. She's going to clear my property on this date. You know, you do whatever you want. I find that really disgusting. Like how low can people go to cause harm to you, your family, to me? We are nice people. We've never harmed anyone in our lives. We haven't, have we? It's like, seriously.
No, it's their ego though. I think it's their ego.
It is just their ego. And I did wonder if people were sitting there going, how did this all start?
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Oh, mate, you must think we're really bad people.
We're not. It's really interesting because Laura, we did talk about this back in the earlier episode, but we'll just give people a quick recap. Laura came to a market that I was at. We'd never met. She came to this market to look at some Highland cows that were present because her son loves Highland cows and they live on a farm, and they were like, we'll get Highland cows. She's wandering around the hall and she comes over to my stall and she looks at my books that I had there, and she picked up my book called The Darkness Around Us. And she's sort of thumbing through it, having a bit of a read, and she looked at me and she went, I've got a friend that would really like this book. Anyway, Laura bought this book, gave it to her friend. Long story short, I met the friend. Now, we don't mention this lady's name. This is a lady that kick-started this whole problem. She's got mental health issues. She's very spiteful, very egotistical, and she just wanted her own way. And Laura and I both separated from this lady. I only met her once. I think Laura told me she'd known her for 12 months, but there was something odd about her, something that Laura didn't feel comfortable with this person. Am I telling that right?
Yeah, just something, bit of control. I don't know, just something there.
Yeah. There was a lot of control because when you started telling me about some of these things that this person wanted you to do, and you went, oh no, that's not me. I can't do that. So Laura stepped away with a no. I'm sorry, but I don't think we can be friends anymore because I'm just not going to do those things that you want to do. So she left in a nice way. I'd only met this person once in person, a few emails, did a little bit of energy clearing work for her. This person thought that I had taken Laura away from her, that I had ruined their friendship. Like there's a lot of mental health issues here. There really seriously is. But to then start calling in all your magic friends, all your sorcery friends, all your voodoo friends, to then attack Laura and myself, Laura's family, her children, her brothers, sisters, their children, that says to me that this person, because she couldn't have her own way, she went, right. And she told us through her YouTube channel, she said, I am opening Pandora's box on you, because we'd blocked her on email, blocked her on phone, and Laura occasionally checked her YouTube channel, because Laura was a little bit, were you feeling paranoid or a bit stressed?
Oh, yeah. I was just like, what's her next move? I don't want to be a target. What's she going to do now? I didn't really know much about magic, but that's what she kind of practiced, and that's what she wanted me to get into. And I'm like, no, I don't do spells. I don't do curses. I don't do any of that. I didn't want to participate in any of that. And that's basically how, I just didn't want to do it, amongst lots of other things. But yeah, that's a whole different kettle of fish.
But that's how we got caught up in this web.
Yeah. Yep, we got caught up in the web, that's for sure.
But the silver lining to all this is that now you, your family, your children all have really good, solid, energetic protection, which is going to take them through their lives.
Exactly. And that's the greatest gift. Like you've given us this knowledge because we've been forced to find it. I didn't want to learn about magic and, all the dark side of it, but we kind of had to. We had to no, this sounds dramatic, to stay alive.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so do you know what the silver lining is? It's a gift. It's the gift. I know that sounds crazy, but we've got protection and it's solid.
And I think the universe put me between you and this other person because they knew that I wouldn't give up until I found a solution, because that's my mindset. I am going to work on this until we have a solution. And I wish My one wish from all of this is that the person who started this whole problem gets herself some mental health care.
Yeah.
And that she realises that attacking people is not a way to make yourself happy in life. It is not going to make you feel happy.
No, not at all. And as my dad used to say, they're more to be pitied than blamed.
Exactly.
You know, yeah, I do feel sorry for this person, because why would you want to live with that much resentment or whatever you're carrying, that you attack, going as low as children. It's like, and children that have done nothing to you. Hopefully she gets the help and is happy.
Yeah, that's what
That's
we
all
want
we
for her.
want.
We want for her to have a
Yeah.
happy life, to use her intellect in a positive way to benefit society. Yeah, it's
Yes.
just... And one thing to finish on is that I had people tell me, magic can't hurt you if you don't believe in it. Well, you and I
Yes.
didn't believe in it, and it can hurt
No.
us. And your 1-year-old nephew and your young kids, they have no idea of the sorcery and magic and all that sort of stuff.
It's there and it's real. There is darkness, and sometimes you just can't wash it out with love and light.
No, you can't, and people need to know about it. And I want to say thank you, Laura. Thank you so much for coming on Perfectly Paranormal to share your living with magic interference. And I'm sure we're going to talk on the phone tomorrow.
Thank you.
So in episode 101, you get an in-depth understanding of dowsing, demonic detection, and how it all works. And I'm also going to share with you 4 tips for why your pendulum might be misbehaving. Is it you, or is it an energetic interference? So stay tuned for next week's episode. Oh, and don't forget, if you like the content of this podcast and you don't want to miss any future episodes, please subscribe. And you can share with your friends so we can get the message out there. We can spread the message about these paranormal pranksters and what they get up to in our homes. I would really appreciate it. So thank you for joining me today. And don't forget, if you want to share a paranormal experience just with myself, or you would like me to share one of your experiences through my podcast, you can do a voice recording, or you can write out your experience and I will read it exactly as you have written. You can email me at spiritualbeing44@gmail.com. And for information on paranormal house clearing, you can visit my website, Spiritual Being. You will find the address in the description box. And I look forward to sharing this spooky space again with you next week. And remember, life is perfectly paranormal.